Welcome, enthusiasts of the English language. I'm delighted to be part of this year's Noc Anglistów. Today, I would like to trace the history of the English language and focus on how it has developed, because the English language hasn't always been the way it is today. It's developed over hundreds and hundreds of years. Now, today, hundreds of millions of people speak English all over the world, whether it's the first language or the second language, or just one of the foreign languages that they speak and learn at school, and so on. So hundreds of millions of people speak English and learn English. But hundreds of years ago, the English language that we know today didn't really exist. It sort of got put together gradually by different historical events. So, we're going to go back in history now and have a look at the following timeline. So we'll start with the year 55 BC, that's the Roman invasion. Then we will move on to the 5th century AD, Germanic migration. Then the 6th century, Christianity. The period between the 8th century and 11th century, marked by Viking invasions. The year 1066 and the middle of the 11th century, that's Norman invasion. The centuries 15, 16, 17, especially the 15th, which marks the beginning of modern English, and the 18th, 20th, and 21st century. So, we are starting in 55 BC, hundreds of years ago, and we are coming up to well beyond. So, 55 BC, the Roman invasion of Britain, of the UK. You must have heard of the Roman Empire with Julius Caesar and all the other Caesars, the Roman Empire that spread in different directions, and Britain is one of the directions they spread in. You can see the size of the Roman Empire by looking at this map. The empire covered, among others, the territory of Italy, France, Spain, and Britain. The Romans conquered Britain and stayed there for a while and built some nice buildings. And they also built a wall that goes across between Scotland and England, called Hadrian's Wall, because the emperor at that time was called Hadrian. You can see it in the slide. So anyway, when the Romans came and stayed for some time, they brought the language with them, the Latin language. And the Latin language, it's called a dead language today, but it has influenced so many other languages, especially in Southern Europe. So languages like Italian, French, Spanish, Portuguese, they all come from Latin. Frankly speaking, the native speakers of the English language have had the Latin influence at different times. So the Romans brought the Latin language with them, and that influenced the way people were speaking to each other as time went on. And the natives of the country started learning Latin words, and it became integrated into the language. Okay, so let's have a look at some of the words that we use today that were influenced or that came from Latin words. Right, we have this pie chart here representing the source of the English vocabulary. So the whole circle represents 100%. So as we can see, Latin represents 29% of all English words. French covers 29% of all vocabulary. Germanic covers 26%. Greek, that's 6%. Other languages, also 6%, and names, 4%. If you're thinking of all the words in the English language at the moment, Latin, the Latin words that came partly from the Roman invasion, constitute 29% of all English words. This means that 29% of the words in the English language have come from a Latin origin, from a Latin source. Okay, so here are just a few of many words that we use every day, really. Words like human, animal, dental, to do with the teeth, decimal, which is to do with the fingers, because we have 10 fingers, and digital, also fingers. Factory, where the things are made, manufacture. Library, where you read books. Libra, meaning book. Manual, if you do things with your hand, it comes from the Latin word for hand, manual. Lunar, to do with the moon, because the Latin word for the moon was luna. And solar, to do with the sun, again, because the Latin word was like that, sol. Military, anything to do with soldiers, because the Latin word used for soldiers was militus. And we also get our mile, the distance, the mile from that, because that was the distance that they would march, I think, before they had a rest or something like that. So, military is to do with soldiers. Science, to do with knowledge. And station, the railway station, the bus station, is a place where you stand still before you move off. And that also comes from a Latin word, to be static in one place. Okay, so that's the Latin. You'll notice also that later on in history, Latin kept coming back there and there, but that's the Latin from these 3 points in history when we had visitors of one sort or another. Okay, so let's move on then to the next major event, the 5th century. Okay, Germanic migration. That's people from roughly where Germany and Denmark is today, in the mainland Europe, moved across the sea. From the Saxon area of Germany, Saxony, the Angles, Saxons, Jutes and Frisians crossed the sea and began to settle portions of the British Isles. You can see it in the slide. The language they brought with them is known as Anglo-Saxon because it was a mixture of the languages used by the Angles and Saxons which got merged. And another name for that is Old English. Old English, which looks totally different from the English we have today. So they brought a different language with them, and that got all mixed in. If you think of a big cooking pot and different ingredients being put in, and it just keeps cooking and cooking over time. That's how it was developing. Okay, here is a sample of an Old English text, the Lord's Prayer. I have marked some of the words in yellow, and I will focus on them for a moment because they have present-day English equivalents. Feder ure, our Father, thu the earton heavenum, who are in heaven, si thi nama jehalhot, blessed be your name. So as you can see, the word feder corresponds to present English father, and the word ure with a long vowel u, which is marked, corresponds to the word our. So the long u became a diphthong ow. The same in the word thu. So thu is modern English thou, okay, the word for you. And eart is a form of the verb to be, okay. That's the word are. And heavenum. So this is the word for heaven. Nama is another word that corresponds to present English name. So here the long R became diphthong A, name. And yehal hod. So in this word the part hal corresponds to the word holy. So the long vowel in hal, the long R, became a diphthong O. Tobekumeth riche, may your kingdom come. Yeurthe fin wile, may your will be done. On eorthan swaswa on heovenum, on earth as it is in heaven. The word tobekume, this word corresponds to present-day English become. So as you can see, in the part kume, okay, the vowel u got unrounded and is pronounced as a in come. Riche is the word which corresponds to present English riches, that is wealth, and it's also present in the word bishopric, okay, that is diocese. Wele is the Old English word, okay, whose continuation is present English will. And eorthan corresponds to present English earth. The word swa with long a corresponds to the word so. So here, we disappeared, and the long a was changed into a diphthong o. And once again, heavenum is the present English heaven. Urne jedej chwamliken chlaf sele us today. Give us this day our daily bread. And forgive us ure guiltes. And forgive us our sins. Swaswa we forgiveth urum guiltendum. So the word jedej chwamliken, that is every day. So here the part die in jedej chwamliken is what corresponds to present English day, and chlaf corresponds to the word loaf. The initial h sound disappeared, and the long a was changed into diphthong o. Loaf. Sele is the present English sell, but the meaning is different. In Old English, it meant give, and in present English, it means to give in return for something else. And once again, the word die, which corresponds to present English day, and it's also present in German in the form Tag. Forgive, that's the word for present English forgive. Ure, once again, that's our, with long u, which was changed into diphthong au. And guiltas, that's the word for guilt, okay, that is sins. ont ne je led thu uson kostnunge, and lead us not into temptation, ac alesus of evile, but deliver us from evil. Sovlice. Amen. So the word yeled, okay, ye is a prefix, and the root lad corresponds to present English lead. And notice that the verb is negated directly by the particle ne, okay, as in Polish, nie wódź, do not lead. Finally, the word evile corresponds to present-day English, evil. So, Germanic. Let's have a look at how much a Germanic language there is in English today. Looking at our pie chart again, we've got 26% of Germanic. So, just over a quarter of the words in the English language today come from a Germanic source. And here we should mention not only English and its later continuation, Middle English, but also Old Norse, okay? Well, the origin of Scandinavian languages and Dutch. So these are all roughly sort of from the Germanic area, and the Dutch words as well are all mixed in here, because Holland isn't that far away either. Okay, so let's just see a few examples of the Germanic words. They are often quite short words and words we use every day, like above, again, apple, bad, good, cook, cake, eat, drink. Parts of the body, especially eye, feet, arm, boy, girl. These are all the Germanic type of words. House, hand, bread. So, as you can see, parts of the body, but also food, all of that kind of thing. Okay, so that's that one. Pre-Christianity. So, moving on, in the 6th century, Britain had been what you call a pagan country. So this is the sort of pre-Christianity period. In the 6th century, Saint Augustine came and started converting people to Christianity. Okay, and that meant bringing languages with him, like the Bible that was written in these different languages, other books, books of learning. So again, Latin came in, and Greek as well came in, and Hebrew. All came with Christianity, which spread around the whole country. So again, Latin came in, and Greek as well came in, and Hebrew all came with the Christianity, which spread around the whole country. I've covered Latin already, so let's just have a look at Greek in our pie chart to see how much influence that has had on the language today. So, looking at Greek, it's actually quite small, just 6%. They are kind of words that are used in a sort of academic life, and the word academic itself is one of them. Academic is a Greek word. And Android, if you have an Android mobile phone, you wouldn't believe that it had come from an old Greek word, but it has. Words like basic, cinema, even climate, democracy, economy, geography, history, idea, they all come from Greek. Ancient Greece had a big influence on these issues. Politics and technology are also Greek words. Okay, Hebrew. We don't have too many words from Hebrew, okay, but a few are jubilee, sabbatical, Sabbath, amen. Okay? So we don't have too many, unless they are included under the other influences, which is another 6% of the whole vocabulary. Okay, so Viking invasions. Okay, so moving on to a period when we had some more invasions, and it wasn't the Romans this time. It was people called the Vikings who came from Scandinavian countries, so that's Norway, Sweden, Denmark, and they came across the sea and invaded Britain. And it wasn't just one invasion. It happened over 3 centuries, from the 8th to the 11th century. So the Viking invasions, and they brought the Scandinavian languages with them. And Old Norse is one of them. And as I said earlier, from this Germanic migration, this was another sort of input into the Germanic types of languages that we have. Some examples of words from Scandinavian languages include angry, happy, egg, knife, ugly, skirt, get, take, give, the pronoun there, Thursday, skull, skill, husband, skate, or wing. That's why English contains 26% of words of Germanic origin, because there was such a lot coming in, a lot of words there. So, moving on again to the 11th century as well, the year 1066, which is a big date in English history, the Norman invasion. And if you know the area called Normandy in northern France, there's a connection there. So the Normans were French, and they invaded. They came across the Channel. They had a big battle near the south coast of Britain, Battle of Hastings, and they won, so they took over. So the Norman invasion that brought French for the first time, and some more Latin again, because anyway, French developed from Latin, so it was a mixture of that. But French for the first time, the French that had developed from Latin, as well as Latin itself. So, let's have a look at some of the words we use in English today that came from French sources. Okay, so food. French people love food, and a lot of words for food came in. So, words like beef, pork, and veal all come from French words. But then some other interesting words that maybe were Latin originally, but they became French, and then these French words came into English, and they are still with us today. Words like continue, liberty, justice, so a lot of legal language. Words to do with the law come from French. Journey is another word. If you go on a trip, journey comes from a French word. People comes from a French word for people. And even the little word very. When you say, oh, that's very nice, very is the French word for true. So it means truly, truly nice. This language that was a combination of English, French, and Latin from the period of the 11th up to the middle of the 15th century is known as Middle English. Here is a sample of the prologue to Canterbury Tales, written by Geoffrey Chaucer, a famous Middle English writer. Again, I have marked some of the words in yellow because they correspond to present-day English words. Juan thought April with a sure sorte, the drought of March hath passed to the rote, when April with its sweet-smelling showers has pierced the drought of March to the root. So here the word April, okay, corresponds to the present English April. So the long A got changed to the diphthong A. And the word shures with the long U has its continuation in the word showers. So long U was started to be pronounced as diphthong AU, showers. The word drucht, so here the long U started to be pronounced as AU in the word drought, okay, when the sound here disappeared before. And the word persed, so here the long A started to be pronounced as ear, okay, so that's why we have the pronunciation pierced. And rota, the long O got changed to U. And bathed every vein in switch liquor, of which the two engendered is the flow, and bathed every vein of the plant in such liquid by which power the flower is created. Here the word switch, so the sound W disappeared, and switch started to be pronounced as such. The word fleur with long U started to be pronounced as flower. Okay? So the long U got diphthongized, that is, it changed into the diphthong AU, so the combination of two sounds. Juan Zephyrus egg with his wet breath inspired hath in every holden half, when the west wind also with its sweet breath in every wood and field has breathed life into. So here the word sweater, the long E in sweater started to be pronounced as E. So Middle English sweater is pronounced today as sweet. And the word inspired, so here long E in inspire started to be pronounced as I. That's why the present English pronunciation of the word is inspire. The tendre kroppes and the junge Sonne hath in the ram his half course I rune. The tender new leaves and the young sun has run half its course in Aries. The word tendre, okay, pronounced today as tender, junge Sonne, okay, both these words have the vowel U, junge and Sonne, and the vowel U got unrounded, and today we pronounce the words as young and sun. And the same in I rune, so the vowel U got unrounded, and that's why the present English word is pronounced as run. And smale fooles maken melodie, that slappen all the night with open ear. And small fowls make melody, those that sleep all the night with open eyes. So the word smale corresponds to small, fooles, that's fowl, so again the long U got diphthongized, and today's pronunciation of the word is fowl. And the word maken, okay, so here the vowel A was lengthened and started to be pronounced as A in make. Again, slappen, the long A is today pronounced as E. So that's why slappen became sleep. And the word nicht. So here, ch disappeared, the vowel was lengthened, and the long E in nicht started to be pronounced as I. So that's why nicht corresponds to present English night. And the word E, open ear. So here the vowel E again, long E, started to be pronounced as the diphthong I. That's why today's present English pronunciation of the word is I. So priketh hem natuur in his heer courages, van longen volk te gaan on pilgrimages. Natuur. Today's pronunciation of the word is nature. Okay, so that's the result of so-called palatalization. And courages. Okay, so here the vowel U got unrounded and is pronounced as A in courage. The word pilgrimages corresponds to present English pilgrimages. And palmeres for the second strange strondes to ferne halwes kuthin sundrelondes. Second. So here the long vowel E in second is pronounced today as E. So we have the word seek. And londes, the word corresponds to present English land. And especially from every shires ende of England to Canterbury they wende. So the word specially is pronounced today as specially. So here again the combination of C is today pronounced as sh. So this is palatalization again. And the word shires with the long E, which is today pronounced as a diphthong I. So Old Middle English shires is pronounced today as shires. Finally, the word wende. So wende, whose meaning is go, so that's the Middle English word for go. It corresponds to present-day English went. That's the past participle of the verb to go. The holy, blissful martyr for the sake, that hem hath holpen, when that they were sake. So here the word holy with the vowel O, long O, which is today pronounced as O, so diphthong O. So holy is today's holy, and martyr corresponds to martyr, and sake. So the word sake with long E, which today is pronounced as E. Finally, the word sake is continued in the form of sick. Right, so we've covered Latin, French, Germanic and Greek, and we've come up to 1066. But of course, the English language didn't stop developing then. Other things happened. For example, in the 15th century, the 16th century, people started exploring the world, going off in ships and finding other countries, finding places like America that they didn't know were there before. People like Christopher Columbus should be mentioned here. Also, going the other way, people discovered India and China. So, people explored. From the English point of view, there were explorers who went off and found things and came back. And that also influenced the language, because, for example, we got tobacco and potatoes from America, and the words for those things were new. Other words borrowed from Native American languages include hickory, moccasin, moose, opossum, raccoon, skunk, squash, teepee, chili, chocolate. Okay, and then the 18th century, the 19th century, colonialism, British Empire. Britain became involved politically in other countries. Then, eventually, the British Empire ended, and we now have the Commonwealth instead. And now, in the 20th century, in the 21st century, the language is still developing. we've got the internet, the speed of travel. It's very easy to get on a plane and travel thousands of miles and go to another country. So words keep coming back from other countries, for example. So looking at the time from the British Empire onwards, a lot of Asian words, words from the Middle East and the Far East, like balcony and bangle, a bangle that you wear around your wrist, a bungalow, that's a house which is only one story, a bungalow, a guru from India, someone who you go to for advice and help, a kiosk, pajamas that you wear in bed at night to sleep in are from an empire country, sandals that you wear on your feet, sandals with spaces in between for hot weather, and even shampoo that you wash your hair with. Shampoo is a foreign word from one of the empire countries. And finally, so we were talking about the internet, technology. If you're doing the housework and hoovering the carpet, we also say vacuuming the carpet because you use a vacuum cleaner. But one of the major brands of vacuum cleaner is the Hoover. And that was the name of the maker, the producer, the Hoover. So, but that word has now become the verb to hoover. So, names count for about 4% in the English language. Hoover is one of them. And more recently, Google. We all use Google, and now there is a verb to Google. So, I am Googling someone or something. Other examples of words from names are sandwich, from Earl of Sandwich, to boycott, from Charles Boycott, canary from Canary Islands, badminton from badminton, a place name, and China from the name of the country called China. Those are just a few examples of names that are now part of the English language, and it's changing all the time still. But it's a fascinating language to study, as I hope you agree. So, I hope that's been interesting for you, a bit of history. And that's all for today. Thank you. Bye.